everyone. Welcome to the second session of ABAP Mondays in DevToberFest 2025. As many of you know, DevToberFest is a learning contest where you can earn points by completing tutorials related to various topics and the validation tutorial related to the session. Kindly post your questions in the chat. And our topic for today's session is custom core development and transformation for clean core in SAP S4HANA. The speakers are one of my favorite, Olga and Thomas Fiedler. Welcome to the session, Olga and Thomas. And let me give you a quick heads up. We had many questions related to the clean core concept and the various level of A, B, C, and D in the previous session. So I'm sure this session will be very interesting and interactive. So over to you, Olga.
Thank you very much, Shilpa, for this nice introduction. And let's start directly with the next session about custom core development and transformation in S4HANA for Clean Core. You already heard today the session about the Clean Core extensibility strategy by our colleague Fabian Fellhauer, and we just do the deep dive into the Clean Core extensibility topic and how to deal with your custom extensions if you're coming from your classic world, and transform your custom extension from EAP to S4HANA, how to deal with this extension, how to make them Clean Core compliant. So let's start. We will take a look at the custom code management after the system conversion. This is the point of time. After you have done the system conversion, it's time to take a look at your extensions and to take care of the Clean Core principles. And then we will continue with the introduction of ABAP Test Cockpit on BTP. And finally, we will talk about the improvements related to generative AI support, which have been done in the custom code management tools, and what we are going to deliver to you to support also your system conversion projects as for HANA with generative AI. So custom code management after the system conversion. Here, what you see on the slide, this is the Clean Core extensibility dimensions. Think this is nothing new for all of you, that Clean Core concept describes a system which is close to SAP standard as far as possible. And there are these 5 dimensions of the Clean Core in place, which relate to extensibility, business processes, data integrations, and operation. And our focus for today is, of course, your custom code, meaning the extensibility aspects. And with regard to the custom code, we will talk about the extensibility. Ideally, the system which is Clean Core compliant doesn't contain custom extensions at all. But of course, this situation cannot be applied to the real world because you still have your own custom scenarios which must be implemented in your system, because S4HANA standard does not offer these options for your specific customer processes. And you need from time to time to extend SAP standard processes and so on. Therefore, you need to implement extensions. To make your extensions Clean Core compliant, you need to follow the ABAP Cloud development model and also the Clean Core extensibility guidelines, which are provided in the new Clean Core extensibility white paper, which focuses on the Clean Core levels A, B, C, D. And in addition, you need to take care that your extensions are not violate the upgrade, and upgrade also not violate the extension. And therefore, you need to, in your custom implementations, take a look at released APIs and classic API and use them in your custom extensions to reach this goal. The extensions still can be implemented either directly in the system using on-stack developer extensibility or key user extensibility, or also side-by-side using business technology platform. And this is actually very suitable for loosely coupled custom extensions. You can still use classic extensions, but you must be aware that if you do this, that using classic extensibility options, then it is the technical depth that you create in the system, and this should be a very well-informed decision. Let's take the clean core extensibility in your S/4HANA Cloud Private Edition and on-premise, how it looks like. The default choice for all your new ABAP-based extensions must be actually ABAP Cloud Development as the leading programming model, using RAP and using only released APIs from SAP. The recommendation for ABAP Cloud Development is to set up a separate software component declared with the ABAP Cloud Development version and create all new objects in this software component. And in this case, the usage of ABAP Cloud, the usage of released APIs will be enforced by the syntax check. If the released API is missing, then you can still implement your own custom wrapper for non-released SAP object and release it for ABAP Cloud Development. Once SAP provides a released API, you can retire the wrapper. According to the Clean Core Extensibility white paper, all extensions which you create with ABAP Cloud Development model belong to level A. In addition, classic ABAP development can be used. This is the classic extensibility based on classic ABAP technologies and frameworks which are not supported in ABAP Cloud Development model. The classic ABAP development may be necessary for correction of the development of your existing developments, of your existing custom code in the system, which cannot be transformed to ABAP Cloud, or also could be relevant for developments in the application areas which are not very good covered by the released APIs of SAP, and where the UIs are also built based on SAP GUI. The recommendation for classic ABAP development is also using the separate software component for classic ABAP development. In most cases, this is the home software component. And if you follow the adapted clean core extensibility rules of SAP, we provide guidance also for classic ABAP development. This includes that SAP offers a recommended list of APIs, classic APIs, which should be used in classic ABAP development. We will talk about it a little bit later. And the usage of these classic APIs is also controlled by the ABAP Test Cockpit. Another important mechanism to control the development of extensions is, of course, the usage of prop authorizations. It's possible to create, for example, dedicated developer role for developers which are able only to carry out the ABAP Cloud development. Of course, there are different options how to deal with your classic ABAP development, how to reduce the amount of this classic ABAP development in the system. This is first the retirement of unused custom code, which is not anymore required in S/4HANA productive systems. And another option is to think about the renovation or innovation of existing custom code exceptions in the direction of modern cloud ERP, like, for example, leveraging the new technologies and frameworks and services which are available on business technology platform and outsource your custom code to business technology platform. This would be suitable for loosely coupled extensions, or also renovate on stack using ABAP Cloud development model. And of course, another option is to adapt existing classic development to the clean core extensibility principles and make your custom development handlebar, meaning that you can, without any problem, execute upgrade, and upgrade will not damage the extension, and extension will not damage the upgrade. Here on this slide, you see how the ABAP Cloud development interplays with classic ABAP development. If you take a look at ABAP Cloud development box on the left side, you see that if you develop your custom objects with ABAP Cloud, then you will be able to access another ABAP Cloud custom objects, or also You can access the ABAP Cloud development objects inside of the same software component, and you can access the SAP development objects via released APIs. And also, if you develop the custom wrappers in classic ABAP development, then you can access the wrappers via so-called released custom APIs. If you develop your custom objects in classic ABAP, then you can access from your classic ABAP development objects only custom development objects inside their own software component, or also released SAP development objects which are provided by released APIs, and the SAP development objects which are provided by the classic APIs. And of course, you can access any custom development objects in the components which are based on classic ABAP and ABAP Cloud. The technical governance of the custom development looks as following. If you develop with ABAP Cloud, then you can control your developments using the syntax check. So you switch the ABAP language version to ABAP for cloud development, and any violation of the ABAP cloud development rules will be reported as syntax error. And for classic ABAP development, you cannot use the syntax check, but there is ABAP Test Cockpit in place. And if you develop in classic ABAP, you use the standard ABAP language version, and any violation of the ABAP Test Cockpit check rules will be reported as ABAP Test Cockpit error. If you take a closer look at the development with ABAP Cloud, then you need to know that you need to comply to certain rules of ABAP Cloud development model. You use only cloud optimized ABAP language version. So ABAP language version is set to ABAP Cloud development, and the syntax check controls the development. You can use only released APIs from the ABAP platform in S/4HANA and released extension points, for example, only bodies for extensibility. The ABAP RESTful application programming model is the programming model of choice for the implementations in ABAP Cloud, and you utilize the SAP HANA usage by using ABAP CDS, ABAP Managed Database Procedures, and ABAP SQL. And of course, ABAP development tools in Eclipse completes this picture, and this is the tool of choice, the IDE of choice for the development process with ABAP Cloud. The released APIs and classic sub APIs can be found on different sources. You can find the released APIs directly, for example, in ABAP development tools for Eclipse. I will show later on how it works. The released APIs are provided on SAP Business Accelerator Hub for the corresponding S/4HANA Cloud products, and the released APIs and classic APIs are also provided on the GitHub in the corresponding cloudification repositories. And you can use the cloudification repository viewer to inspect these APIs. You can also, if you are missing released APIs, you can raise the request to SAP to support to provide the new released API. And there are the corresponding customer influence channels also on this slide for corresponding S/4HANA Public Cloud Edition. And if you want to request the API, released API for the S/4HANA Cloud Private Edition, so the customer influence procedure was changed, and now we don't have a dedicated customer influence channel for S/4HANA Cloud Private Edition, but you need to address your request to the corresponding customer influence channel of the application area of S/4HANA. So this is how you find the released APIs for usage in ABAP Cloud and ABAP development tools. In the ABAP development tools for Eclipse, you have the Project Explorer view, and there you can set up your own virtual trees, your own views on the repository, and these views can depict only released API. So you can display only released objects, release local APIs, and also released local extension points. You can also search for released API directly in the system. We have extended ABAP search and ABAP development object search, where you can specify different filters and look, for example, as here on the right-hand side on the screenshot, you look for all the CDS views which are released in the current system. For each development object, you can display its properties in ABAP development tools for Eclipse, and you will see there if this object is released for the usage in cloud development. And for example, if the object is not released, then if successor exists, such successor will be also provided in the properties view. And you see here on the screenshot, for example, for the table, but 000, which is not released for direct access in ABAP Cloud, the successor CDS view should be used to access this table. The business partner successor CDS view is available. So we are now talking about the ABAP Cloud development, and of course, there is certain use cases. There are certain use cases where you need to analyze your custom code for ABAP Cloud. For example, if you want to transform existing use case into direction for ABAP Cloud, then you need to analyze your code for ABAP Cloud with cloud readiness checks and then adapt your code to ABAP Cloud. And this is possible, and there are different analysis options. It's even possible to analyze your older code in ECC system for ABAP Cloud, or the code in the older S/4HANA system, which is smaller than 2022 release, because in 2022 we have released developer extensibility, and then you can analyze your code for ABAP Cloud directly in the system. And before that release, recommendation is to use custom code migration app and the corresponding cloudification repository on the GitHub, which provides the list of the released APIs for the corresponding S/4HANA release. So you can check your system remotely, ECC system or older S/4HANA system, and find out how far your code is from the ABAP Cloud, what all you need to do to adapt this piece of code to ABAP Cloud. If your system supports developers extensibility, is on the release greater or equals to 2022, then you can directly use ABAP development for Eclipse and ABAP Cloud Readiness Check variant. And then you can directly, inside of the system, analyze your code for cloud readiness, detect and find the issues which have to deal with ABAP Cloud violation. And finally, you would need to adapt your code for ABAP Cloud. And this should be done in the system, which is on S/4HANA release greater or equals to 2022, because only this release supports ABAP Cloud and developer extensibility. And therefore, the procedure for the adaptation might take place there. You need to execute ABAP Cloud readiness checks with ATC. You will get a list of findings related to ABAP Cloud, and then you can adapt your code. We offer some quick fixes which are mass-enabled, so you can execute all quick fixes at once. These quick fixes support custom code adaptation in automated way. You can adapt the code automatically for usage of ABAP for cloud development language version and to the released object types. And for the remaining part, you need to adapt your code also to usage of released APIs for ABAP Cloud. So ATC results will be displayed, and you would need to use the successor information, successor released API in details of ATC analysis results, which is provided there. And if such successor API is missing, so you have no released API for this adaptation case, then you would need to implement your custom wrapper. So this is the procedure, how to analyze your code for ABAP Cloud and how to adapt it to ABAP Cloud development. As already said, if you are missing released APIs, there is procedure in place which you can use to implement your own custom wrapper to mitigate the missing released API. And the important thing is, if you implement your own custom wrapper, you need to rely on classic APIs. So if your custom code is using such classic APIs, which are classic APIs are provided by SAP, as already mentioned, then this custom code piece can be rebuilt and provided as a wrapper. The usage of classic APIs can be checked by ABAP Test Cockpit, and you can implement your own custom wrappers. There is also custom wrapper generator available for function modules and BAPIs, and it can be used to automate the custom wrapper implementation. This is the transaction ACO proxy in this SAP GUI, and you have here the link to the corresponding blog post by our colleague, Andre Fischer, which explains you in detail how to use ACO proxy to generate the custom wrappers. For the classic ABAP development, there are different options. It's already said. You can retire the unused code. You can renovate the code into direction of ABAP Cloud. And the classic code, the classic ABAP code which cannot be retired and cannot be renovated must be somehow adapted into direction of the clean core. And therefore, we offer the classic APIs. The classic APIs are provided by SAP and includes objects and extension points which SAP experts have nominated as stable, but there is no such a stability contract as for released APIs, but still this list describes the mature technologies and frameworks, for example, like SAP GUI or ILB Grid, and different development patterns, which are recommended to be used by customers in S/4HANA and which are commonly known to cause no general upgrade issues. Such classic APIs are provided as a repository list on the GitHub, and there is dedicated codification repository viewer, which you can use to inspect the list of classic APIs. And Thomas will later on show you the demo how to use the viewer. We offer also dedicated ATC check variant, which focuses on the clean core aspects and which can analyze your code for the critical issues which needs to be fixed to make your code clean core compliant. So this check variant supports compliance to standard security and quality rules, and also the check will report critical statements in your code like usage of modifications, implicit, explicit enhancements, and critical statements like, for example, system calls. And this check variant takes care that your development guidelines comply to usage of released APIs and classic APIs instead of using any other SAP internal objects which are not recommended for the classic ABAP development. And this is how the ABAP Test Cockpit check variant look like. First, of course, you need to set up your ABAP Test Cockpit system, ideally as a hub, which can support multiple development system. You connect the development system to the central ATC hub and configure ATC to be run during development tasks as developer, and of course also during transport release. And the priority 1 and 2 findings must be blocked from the release. The recommendation for the ATC check variant for the clean core is as the following. Take as a template the ABAP Cloud Development default check variant, which contains the general checks which are recommended for ABAP Cloud development, and add the following checks which will control usage of modifications, usage of implicit and explicit enhancements, and which control the usage of SAP APIs in your code, like released and classic APIs. So here the checks listed: allowed SAP enhancement technologies, usage of APIs checks. These both checks are new, and they can be installed in S/4HANA system using the corresponding node, which is here mentioned on the slide. In addition, search for custom modification check must be added. And of course, if you have licensed code vulnerability analyzer, then it would make sense also to add the security checks. The legacy objects which cannot be applied to the new clean core principles should be handled with ATC baseline. So if you don't want to take care of your old legacy code, or you don't have time and effort for this, then just execute initially this new clean code check variant over your custom code and take in your over your custom code, legacy custom code, and take these the findings of the result into baseline. And for the following implementation with ABAP classic development model, you use ideally classic APIs. And if you need to use the internal API from SAP, which is not qualified as recommended released or a classic API, then you can use ATC exemption to control the usage of such internal objects in your custom code. So the most important check in this new ATC check procedure is the new ATC check, which is based on usage guidelines of SAP APIs. The name of the check is usage of APIs check. And the purpose of this check is to verify the usage of classic ABAP development objects, standard ABAP development objects, which are based on the consumption of SAP APIs. The check verifies usages of SAP standard objects in custom code, like interfaces, classes, function modules, CDS views or behavior definitions, DADIC database tables or DADIC database views, and so on. And the check does not check such object types like data elements, domains, table types. So all DADIC object types are not checked. No ATC finding is reported, and the ATC findings are reported as following: for usage of released APIs in custom code, no ATC findings are reported, so you are fine. You are absolutely ABAP Cloud compliant in your code and also Clean Core compliant. For usage of SAP Classic API, the check will report the info message. And for usage of SAP API, which is not classified like SAP internal API, the check will report the warning. And for usage of API, which is marked as no API, an error message will be reported. And if the success is provided, the successor will be also reported in the ATC check result. In addition to classic API, there is a second type of API classification in the classification APIs list, this so-called not recommended APIs. These APIs were explicitly inspected by SAP experts and are assessed as not suitable to be used in custom code. So these APIs are marked as no APIs, and the ATC will report the error. On the screenshot on the right-hand side of this slide, you see just one example which demonstrates how the ATC errors go down if you use this new clean code check usage of APIs, which is based on usage of guidelines, guidelines for SAP APIs instead of ABAP Cloud readiness checks, which are based on usage of released APIs. And you see how the findings go down. On the first screenshot, you see the 14 errors. On the second one, you see only 1 error, 1 warning, and 3 infos. And this multiple reduction of these such critical issues in the custom code as errors is gained with the change in the check procedure. So, for example, the ABAP language version, ABAP language version of objects and allowed object types in ABAP cloud developments, these ATC checks are now excluded from the check procedures for the clean core, because the compliance of ABAP cloud is not necessary for classic ABAP development. And all these checks are just replaced by the usage of APIs check, and therefore the findings go down. Therefore, I would like to encourage you to try out these new ATC checks for clean core, and you will see how they significantly reduce the number of ATC findings in your classic developments, and you can focus your adaptation on real problems and on real technical depths. So here you see at one glance how the ABAP Test Cockpit supports the clean core levels concept. The ABAP Test, if you execute ABAP Test Cockpit clean core checks, you will get no messages for the released SAP API. This would be level A. And priority 3 info messages for level B, priority 2 for level C, and priority 1 for level D. So this is just in a nutshell, the summary. So, and now the time for the demo. I would like to hand over to Thomas, who will show you how to check the custom code for ABAP cloud readiness and how to use the new ATC checks for clean core. Thomas, the stage is yours.
All right. Thank you, Olga, for that introduction. So my name is Thomas Fiedler. I'm typically a product manager at SAP, but for the next couple of minutes, I'm a developer at an airline company. And we are currently with our company in a transition from our old ECC system towards S/4HANA. And with that step, we're also looking a little bit on our old legacy code, if there is potential to also some kind of renovate of the old applications towards a new modern user interface. And one of these applications is a small flight evaluation that we have implemented on our own. That means when customer gives us feedback towards the flight, so how was the flight or the meal and things like that, we have a small application here that you can just enter the data here. So with this user interface here, and then you see that these are the change. We got a lot of feedback from our employees that they don't like this user interface anymore. They want to have some modern Fiori-based, browser-based UI for that. And this is exactly what I want to do now. And luckily, I already heard the news from SAP that there is a new clean core guideline with this level concept. And I digested this already as a developer, and then I'm set up already the ABAP Test Cockpit, which is our main tool in order to check the coding concerning this new clean core guideline. And this is what I'm doing now. So the goal is really for new developments or for modern developments to really use the ABAP cloud development model. And therefore, I already executed here an ATC check run here in my development environment with the ABAP Cloud Readiness variant. That means this is really now the very restrictive variant to check if I can migrate this coding to ABAP Cloud. And then you see already what kind of findings you will get. So the ABAP syntax is more restrictive compared to the classic ABAP version. So for example, only the new SQL syntax is allowed, or some ABAP statements are not available anymore. And also some of the old data elements are not recommended anymore. So the task of my development now is to, on the one hand side, adapt to the ABAP Cloud language version, and then switch more or less to only to use released APIs from SAP. That's my task. Luckily, what I already have here, for example, is that I get some kind of an automation here. When I mark these ATC findings, then you see, okay, there are already quick fixes available that I can choose here. So that means a lot of these findings are fixed for me automatically, so I don't have to do this manually. This is done by the IDE. And for the other things, I need to switch to released APIs, which typically you also will get here as an information in the ATC result when there is a so-called successor API available that you can use. And that's how the procedure is, and that how you can modernize your ABAP code concerning ABAP Cloud. Concerning the user interface, it makes not so much sense to analyze the report which lies behind the application, because reports are anyhow not supported anymore in ABAP Cloud. So it does not make sense to analyze this, because this is definitely a complete re-implementation of the user interface by using RAP and Fiori or Fiori elements if possible. So this is the first task I want to show. Now we have additional applications in the system which are not really on my list that I want to modernize, right? Because, for example, this application here is just some kind of an application which analyzes the existing data in the system. So it's only used by a few employees that look into the data. And so we decided not to re-implement this report at all. So we just said, okay, but we want to at least apply to the clean core guidelines. So with this level concept, that means level A. So using ABAP Cloud development makes no sense for that, because we want to stay to our report, but we want to at least look that there is no level D development. So things which are definitely not recommended from SAP to use, that we don't use that in our reports. For that, we have a new variant. In that case, I have created this on my own in my set namespace. So this is now this new variant, which is given there. And after that, you see that the amount of findings has now changed. And you can also group this, for example, by the priority, and then you see exactly the findings correlating to the level concept. So the red area is definitely something that I have to change, because this we don't want to have. The warnings area is on the one hand side, okay, it's okay from a clean core perspective, but I also want to change this. And then you also see that there are so-called classic APIs. So let's say the second best option from a stability point of view. This is also used here, and this is okay. So for example, all the ALV grid stuff is part of this classic API. When you want to figure out what kind of classic APIs we have this small browser application for you, because the classic APIs are stored in a file on our cloudification repository. And with this small viewer, you can inspect these classic APIs. So for example, when you want to see, okay, I only want to see the classic APIs, and maybe all APIs that contains the name ALV, and then you see these APIs. You also have seen there are APIs available which you definitely should not use, like for example this here. And there are also APIs, for example, like this API here, which definitely should not be used. And this you have seen in the IDE will result then in an error message. And so this short demo shows you how you can, on the one hand side, use the ATC to really modernize your application towards ABAP Cloud, so really providing a complete new user interface for your employees. And on the one hand side, how you can at least adapt your existing legacy code towards the clean core level concept. Having said that, handing over back to Olga with the next part.
Thank you, Thomas. So let's continue with the presentation. After you have seen the cloud readiness checks and the clean core checks, let's take a look at the ABAP Test Cockpit on BTP. We have moved ABAP Test Cockpit to the cloud. ABAP Test Cockpit is available on BTP inside of BTP ABAP environment and is our recommended tool, this ATC service on BTP, for clean core governance of your private cloud and on-premise development. So ABAP Test Cockpit on BTP is available, as already said, in BTP ABAP environment. And of course, you can use the free tier option in order to start and try out the ABAP Test Cockpit on BTP. Then you can convert your free tier option to the productive model, and then you can use ATC on BTP. The advantages are very clear. So you have only one system which is in place, which is set up and operated by SAP, maintained by SAP. You don't need to set up a dedicated system in your on-premise landscape and take care of it and upgrade it and so on. You have always the access to the newest ATC checks and the newest features, because they are provided on quarterly basis by SAP. And you can also use during custom code analysis the security checks by code vulnerability analyzer, which are available for free with ATC on BTP. So ABAP Test Cockpit on BTP is the contains number of Fiori-based applications. One of them is very familiar to you, I hope. This is the custom code migration app, which is used for the custom code analysis and started with the latest release of BTP ABAP environment 25.08. We have splitted the tiles in the Fiori Launchpad, and now we have two apps. We have custom code migration app if you have IT project manager role for the custom code analysis in custom code migration projects. And if you have quality manager role, then you have under the custom code analysis, analyze custom code app. So this is actually the same custom code migration app, but the name is different, and it's more convenient to use in terms of central ATC. So analyze custom code app executes custom code analysis, including security checks via code vulnerability analyzer. You can add the usage data if you collected it via SCMON or SUCG, and consider also usage data for your custom code analysis. You can define your own check variants with ABAP development tools for Eclipse. And you can also implement your own custom checks if you are missing some checks from ATC. The developer scenario is supported. We have the workflow for handling of ATC exemptions, and we support the baseline and scheduling of ABAP Test Cockpit runs. So as you see, the most features from the ATC on-premise are already there. Of course, it's not possible to rebuild one-to-one every feature which is available in on-premise SAP GUI-based ATC, but still the most important features are in place, and you can successfully use ATC on BTP. And here you have also a link on the slide, links to the customer success stories of our customers like Geberit or Red Digital, which are successfully already using ABAP Test Cock on BTP. And here, just some examples how it works. If you use ABAP Test Cockpit on BTP as on-premise developer, then you use such so-called developer scenario, where you use remote check variant from ATC on BTP to analyze your on-premise or private cloud developments during your development process. So you can execute ATC check using the remote ATC check variant. You see the results. You can check the transports before release using remote ATC on BTP check variant. You can correct finding, request exemptions, and so on. The exemption workflow works as following. As a developer, you are either on-premise or in private cloud S/4HANA, and then you request your exemption in ABAP development tools for Eclipse, just as during on-premise development. And if you have a quality expert role, then you need to process the exemption. And in this case, you have the new Approve ATC exemption app in SAP BTP ABAP environment, which you work with as quality accept to view the exemption and to process it, either reject it or also resolve it, and so on. As I already said, the baseline is supported. You can execute the customer analysis using Analyze Custom Code app or Custom Code Migration app. It's the same, and you create the exemption, the baseline for the findings, where different options are available. As in on-premise ATC, you can indicate the findings as exempted, suppress the findings as is the low priority, and so on. And then after you have taken over the findings to the baseline, they are there and will not appear at the new ATC run. Having said this, let's now switch to a complete different topic. We will talk about generative AI in custom code management tools. And this is a pretty important topic, especially for the customers who are looking for the support for the custom code migration to S/4HANA during system conversion projects, and for the clean core. And we are working on these topics to support you with generative AI capabilities. Here, the general pictures at ABAP use cases, and for generative AI, we have different use cases in place. We have Empower, so-called Empower use case, where we enable the developers on the customer side to use generative AI capabilities, to use so-called ABAP AI SDK, and infuse the AI into own custom development. We have also Accelerate use case in place, which helps ABAP developers based on SAP Joule for ABAP developers, ABAP AI capabilities, and ABAP development tools in Eclipse to use the Joule assistant during daily development tasks, and ask for different supports like code proposals, like generation of ABAP unit tests, like explanation, and so on. And now we support also to so-called transformation use case. You as SAP customers are moving from the traditional ECC systems to S/4HANA, to the clean core with ABAP Cloud, and you need support there as well. Last year at Devtoberfest 2024, we have announced that we are working on the dedicated capabilities in custom code management tools in order to support custom code migration with AI. And now we are proud to announce that the first transformation capabilities will be delivered with S/4HANA Cloud Private Edition 2025 to the SAP customers. And the scope will include the functionality which are essential to analyze and adapt the code for S/4HANA. The Joule capabilities will be integrated in ABAP development tools for Eclipse. So the same Joule window as for the Accelerate use case. You will get documentation chat at your disposal, where you can ask different custom code migration questions, different questions around of all S/4HANA simplification, etc. You can get the explanation capabilities for the legacy code, so you can understand the business logic, what is all this legacy code is about, because probably a developer has already left the company, and you need to understand the code in order to adapt it to S/4HANA. You will get support there, and also support to explanation of different details of the old report, for example. And you will get the explanation of ATC findings. Explanation of ATC findings is cumbersome because you need to look up different SAP simplification documents, notes, cookbooks, and so on to understand the issue. And here the generative AI will support you and assist you at explanation. And further on, starting with S/4HANA 2025 feature pack 01, we want to provide also first adaptation capabilities by offering so-called code proposal. And we also targeting to support in 2026 so-called project manager role, and offer the generative AI capabilities also in the custom code migration app. Having said this, I would like now to hand over to Thomas, who will show you the demo for the generative AI support in the custom code migration tools. So Thomas, the stage is again yours.
Perfect. So now I'm again, the developer at the airline company in the S4 transformation. And I'm not only renovating old stuff towards the new programming model. No, I also have to adapt the old legacy code that it still runs on the S4 platform. And yeah, you know, reality in these situations is that you get sometimes legacy code where you have no clue what this code is doing. And yeah, you also see there is no documentation or things like that available. So I've really no clue what this thing is doing. But since a couple of weeks, fortunately, we are already on the latest S4HANA release, and we are taking part at the first tests of the new Joule capabilities. And here I'm already using this functionality here that you see. And now I want to that Joule helps me, because that's my friend and helps me in development tasks. And he also can explain me the old legacy reports. So I'm just using the Joule chat window integrated in my ADT. And then you see what this is about. And it's not so going too into details what the concrete ABAP code is doing. It more gives me like an overview what's the business purpose of this report, because typically in that phase I just want to understand roughly what the thing is doing. Maybe I can also decide, oh, this is a report which I don't want to use anymore in S4HANA, so I can also remove it and don't adapt it, things like that. So therefore it's clear that I have to understand what this report is doing from a business purpose perspective. So that means this is exactly what Joule is doing here. Gives you this overview and also gives you some kind of insights into the processing logic. So what is the general approach of the logic in that report? And it also gives you an overview about the objects which are called during this report. There's also here the capability to look into details here of this business purpose, or I can also explain the processing logic in more detail. So you just click on it, and then Joule gives you more insights about that. There you see more explanation about that here. So this is how you can use Joule interactively to get some details about this report here. And it was all about, okay, it is an Excel file that you can upload here, which maintains the pricing condition. So this sounds like that we want to do this also in S4HANA. So most likely we will take over this report to S4HANA and adapt it to the rules of S4HANA. What you have to do typically when you adapt the coding, you know there is the long list of simplification items. So I'm just at the beginning of this exercise, so I have only a rough overview. There was something about material number and also some data model changes I heard already, but I do not have any details about this, because I also heard that I also get Joule support for the ATC. That means Joule will help me to understand the ATC findings. And this is what I did here already. So this is one of the things I want to adapt. And I did already an ATC run for that with the S4HANA readiness check. So this is now really comparing my custom codes with the simplification items. And what you are typically doing then as a developer, you click on the finding. Maybe we tend this a little bit. And then you see, okay, you get some kind of basic information already from the ATC. Maybe, for example, what kind of additional information you can find. So there are notes. Sometimes in these notes there are cookbooks attached or other notes and things like that. So there's really a huge set of information that you have to read through in order to understand what is the problem with this database table here, right? And this is really, let's say, cumbersome and takes me too much time. And therefore, what I'm doing now is that I also use Joule now here. So I just right click on the ATC finding, and there I also find the Joule window. And then I say, okay, explain me this. And there you get exactly this information that you need. What's the problem? What's the problem with that table? So, okay, it's not used anymore in S/4HANA. There's another table, PRCD elements, which stores now the items of that table. And for sure that every select statement on that table will not be okay, because you do not get data out of it. So you have to change it. And there's also here advices how you can fix this problem here, either by using an API or by using compatibility CDS views here. So that's basically, and this works for all kind of S/4HANA findings. So also, for example, for this material number extension, where the material number data element was extended from 18 to 1440. So all these information you will get here also in the show review. I will now go to another example. There we go. And there I also want to trigger an ATC run. The S/4HANA readiness. Takes a while until the result is displayed in ADT. So in that report here, I'm also working with this KONV table, which I already know that there are no entries in there. And the good thing is, from the classic ATC, we're already providing quick fixes, which automatically fixes these kind of things here. So you can go through this wizard here, and then you see, okay, this select statement on this table will be replaced via an API call. But unfortunately, this capability is not available for all findings. So roughly about 60% of the findings we are providing quick fixes. But I also can use the tool capabilities also now here to, on the one hand side, again, get an explanation of the finding. This should be similar to the result that I got earlier. So again, that I have to use this API here. And in that case, it is an update statement. So it's not the simple case where I can use this CDS view, because I definitely have to use the API. And now I can click this button here, which gives me a code proposal for that. So this is now a little bit different here. So it's now a different command here. Usually this works. No, it's not working right now. So Olga mentioned it's already right in the middle of the development. So maybe some things has changed. Maybe I can try it on the different statement here. So again, I'm triggering this on the ATC finding. And then again, click the code proposal thing. And there you see how this works. Now this really analyzes the coding. And it's not that you can just copy and replace this with the edit. It's more like a template-based approach. It fits already very well to your coding, but you also need some kind of adjustments later on. So it's not that you can just execute this on your coding and then you're done. So you also have to recheck a little bit what this thing is doing. Maybe you also have to replace some variables here that it fits to your coding. But I think you can imagine that this will really helps you to do this exercise more efficient than just reading through all these documents and doing these things manually on your side. So Joule is really also now your friend in S4 conversions. And then I want to hand back to Olga.
Thank you, Thomas. And having said this, we are currently actually at the end of the session. And what I want to point you to is also all other ABAP Cloud related sessions at Devtoberfest and other following sessions at SAP TechEd. And if you have still any questions with regard to clean core extensibility topics provided and presented today, you can always reach out to me and Thomas for advice. Thank you very much for your attention, and I now hand over back to Shilpa. Thank you very much, and have a nice Devtoberfest.
Thank you, Olga, and thank you, Thomas, and thanks for the session. This is so important. We do have some questions in the chat, but as we are nearing the ending time, probably we can take it offline. And for the audience, the link to the presentation will be put up in the description. If you're watching replay and if you have any questions, you can put as a comment in the community page, and Olga and Thomas will address it in the community page. So thanks for joining, and see you in the next session of Devtoberfest. Thank you.